Welcome back to the Old. Thank you for joining me again today. I'm your host, Shapirian. Pumped to be back with you as we approach Week 7 in the NFL. We've got football tonight. We've got storylines breaking amongst the league. And a lot of things that are going to shake up this season are going to be happening now and over the course of the next few weeks. I'm excited to talk about it with you. Before we get right into it, do me a favor, check and see if you should subscribe to the channel. If you're not, please consider doing so. Just hit the little click. I would greatly appreciate it. It means more to me than you would know. If you want to add something onto the conversation, if I miss something, you can also leave a comment down below. You can interact with me on most social medias at the Alt NFL. I'd love to hear from you. Without any further ado, let's get into it. We're going to be talking Steelers. We're going to be talking Treads takes. We're going to bring him on, see what he has to say. We're going to be talking Thursday Night Football. We've got the Uni Talk of the Week coming up. Going to be a very fun episode overall. Let's start now with one of the bigger news stories of the week, in my opinion, that kind of got overshadowed on yesterday's episode where I just talked trades. Steelers. No official decision has been made yet, but all signs pointing towards the fact that they will be moving forward. Well, I can't say that, but for this week on Sunday Night Football, starting Russell Wilson at quarterback over Justin Fields. Justin Fields has him at 4-2. Justin Fields has been playing mistake-free football. Justin Fields has done a very good job. Justin Fields has more passing touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes. And they're benching him. What? That's kind of my whole thought process on it right there. Really an easy summarization of how I feel about it is like, he's done more than I would have guessed. He's done everything they could have hoped for, and they're going to still see what Russell Wilson has in a very winnable game. Now, I'm not saying Russell Wilson can't win in that game. I think I struggle to see how Russell Wilson is going to fit into this offense better than Justin Fields, unless Russell Wilson also cleans up the mistakes. He throws a lot of picks in recent years, and that Broncos Russell Wilson, which is the most recent version of him that we've got, I'm not counting preseason Steelers Russell Wilson, is not someone that's going to come in and run this offense better than what we've seen from Justin Fields. Plus, I don't have to tell anybody listening to the Alt this, you guys already know Fields is a lot younger with a lot more upside, and I don't see any reason to not continue rolling with Fields until further notice. But that being said, I gotta hand it to the people reporting on it, the beat reporters, people asking questions. They talked to Russell Wilson when they were 3-0. So since then, they're 1-2 in the last 3 weeks since then. And he was like, feeling better, getting better week by week. And then someone asked something along the lines of like, well, are you going to start when you're healthy? Like, what do you think? And he said, I talked about it on the show, there's a plan and we're sticking to the plan. With a big smile on his face. There's a plan and we're sticking to the plan. And I immediately mentioned right there, I said, does that not sound like someone who has been guaranteed that he'll get at least an opportunity to start once he's healthy? Sounds to me like it is. But I'm curious who this is coming from. I actually misremembered, and I hope I haven't quoted this as such on the show incorrectly. I don't think I have, but I know I have in private conversations with people. I said, Wilson's under contract for next season. Fields isn't. That's not true. They're both not going to be under contract next season from what I can tell. I don't think Fields' fifth-year option is available for the Steelers, right? If I'm not mistaken, I don't think it is. From what I could find, it's hard to find contract details. We do our best. I'm pretty sure they don't have him for his 5th year. Russell Wilson signed on a 1 year after the Broncos released him. I forgot, because players with big contracts so rarely get released these days that I forgot. Now the Broncos said, screw it. We'll take the $50 million hit. We got a rookie quarterback. Let's go with it. And that's what's been happening. So that said, I don't even know what the upside to starting Wilson is. Do I feel better about their chances of winning a Super Bowl this year, which is their goal? Whether anybody around the league wants to talk about it that way, I get it. I don't think they can win a Super Bowl with either quarterback. That's still their goal, and that's what everybody in that building's goal is. Mike Tomlin certainly believes they can win a Super Bowl. I have no doubt in my mind about that. And that's the defensive side of the ball is absolutely Super Bowl caliber. The offense is not going to get it done, in my opinion, with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, regardless of the fact that they will probably be in the playoffs. So, you bench Fields for Wilson, okay. Now what? Look, your first game back after a terrible couple of seasons with the Broncos and an unhealthy offseason. I think the calf is fully 100% now for what it's worth. It's against the Jets defense. And yeah, the Jets are 2-4. Sure, I completely get it. That's a Jets defense that just held Josh Allen to 3 points in the second half of that football game. A very close, competitive football game. If you think it's going to be easy pickings out there, you're wrong. I don't think it's going to be that. And I think this is going to be a very fun one to watch, knowing that we're getting Russell Wilson now. Just because I don't know what the Steelers' offense is going to look like. They change it? Is it game plan differently? He's not nearly as mobile now as Fields is. What's that going to be? If I had to put my bow on this conversation, though, I'd say I don't understand the decision fully. I think it's very un-Steelers-like to do this unless it was guaranteed in the offseason you'll get the chance to at least start. If they did that, sure, then they owe him that. But would they have done that? That's a very no-nonsense organization. The standard is the standard, and the standard is winning football games. And so Justin Fields has been doing that. I have no reason to believe he won't continue to give them a decent opportunity to keep doing that. Just saying. So Steelers, all eyes are going to be on you Sunday night against the Jets at home as to whether or not Russell Wilson looks like a competent quarterback in the system. I don't know who I'm going to pick for that one yet. It's going to be a good one. Let's move on now to one of my favorite segments of the week, the Uni Talk of the week, before we bring Treads in here for Treads Takes, because this is going to be a brief one. It's something that I wanted to talk about when it got announced early in the season. I thought of this and I was like, this is uniform euphoria. Uniphoria. Ooh, that's kind of a good segment name, isn't it? Uniphoria? That'd be fun. We'll just be quick with this one. I want to talk about what the Jets did Monday night. We had so much Jets talk on this show. If you're not a Jets fan, which I'm not a Jets fan. If you're not a Jets fan, you're probably like, oh, brother, the Jets again. They're unescapable right now. This is just a uniform segment, so bear with me. They unveiled and wore, well, they weren't unveiled. God, I'm messing this all up. They wore them. They weren't unveiled. We knew about them already. They wore their 1960s throwbacks / their Mark Sanchez, Brett Favre throwbacks. We've seen those uniforms recently, and they looked phenomenal. Now, people within the uniform community, and as I've said before on the show, yes, there's a uniform community of people that talk about this stuff. Like, oh, it's the wrong green and things like that, and it's kind of a throwback with the details of the uniform. Okay, it's a throwback. I don't want to hear that. And I get that the shade of green might not be exactly right. It looked great. It looked spot on to me. It looked exactly like what I expected it to, and they looked awesome in those uniforms. What I want to say is, with this uniform in their wardrobe, which I hope it stays. I hope they keep this uniform in their wardrobe and wear it at least once a season. The Jets uniform wardrobe is something I'm going to refer to as a nuclear uniform set. I think this is all opinionated, all opinion, right? I think their current uniforms, home and away, just talking about those two, are the best ones they have. I love the green helmets. The only time in their team's history they've ever had the green helmet was with that look. I'm glad that's the one they went with and they brought it back. And it's kind of modernized with like the chrome look, right? It looks awesome. I love those uniforms. Perfect. They have a cool alternate. The blackout look is really cool. I've talked about, like, is it black for black's sake? I don't know. They don't have a lot of imagery to go off of, and there are black fighter jets that I'm sure there's some corporate speak about them representing that. I don't know. They're cool. Their black uniforms are really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. Another check mark, cool alternate. Their throwbacks are unique, nostalgic, representative of a good time when they won the Super Bowl. You can't ask for a better throwback. And it adds to the uniform set, right? It adds to the overall look. It's so different. It stands out in a lineup amongst the regular Gotham green, the all white, the all black, and then their throwbacks. Ooh, it stands out. And it's a great uniform. That to me is a nuclear uniform set. I don't think it could get better. I think that's their best uniform set they've ever had. And I hope they don't change it anytime soon. I hope they keep it for a long time. I'm excited to see the black in action eventually too. It'll be fun. There's a couple other teams that I want to throw into the mix here with this and say, like, I think they kind of have this uniform set going too. Honestly, I really do. There's two in particular I want to point out. A couple of them just missed the mark. I will show some love and say the Bengals, in my opinion, just missed the mark. I think they need their 1960s, 1970s throwbacks in there. And this is their best possible uniform set as well, because of the white Bengal being a cool alternate. But The two teams that I think also have nuclear uniform sets right now, one of them is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, when they went to the alarm clock font, the oversized Buccaneer flag, the chrome face mask, I hated it from the start. I think a lot of people hated it from the start. It was a terrible uniform that was never built to last. And when Tom Brady signed with the Buccaneers, me being me, I was like, ugh, we have to see Tom Brady in the alarm clock Bucs uniforms, dude. You cannot be serious. Thank God we didn't have to see Tom Brady in the alarm clock Bucs uniforms. I didn't know they already had new uniforms planned. I don't know if anybody knew. And that they are basically just throwbacks to their early 2000s look, or late 90s, whenever they introduced it. Thank God. And it's their best uniform set. I love the pewter helmets, so I get, like, if you want to say, like, oh, the creamsicles, we'll talk about them in just a sec, but this is a great look. They kind of changed some of the details from the early 2000s in a good way. They look phenomenal. The Bucs uniforms are so good. And they have a unique color scheme. They're great. They also have a very good alternate that I don't know if we'll even see it this season. I don't know that we will even see it because there's rules about wearing alternates. You can only wear them 3 times, whatever. I know they're going to wear the creamsicles. But their pewter jersey is a cool, meaningful alternate to me. I love it. I love the pewter jersey. When they introduced it, and like I think Tom Brady wore the pewter jersey in the press release for the new uniforms, I was like, God, that is one of the coolest uniforms in the NFL. I still think that. No one talks about it. The pewter Bucs jerseys. Love them. After that, I don't have to talk about the creamsicles. I love it. And I also want to say, same with the Jets. The creamsicles are awesome, worthwhile throwbacks that are not better as full-time unis than their current unis. That's why that's a nuclear uniform set. Your current look is your best look you've ever had. You have a cool alternate that adds to the uniform set overall. Your throwback is awesome, meaningful, but not better than your full-time set. As a full-time set, like the creamsicles full-time would lose their luster, right? Creamsicles every now and then serve a great purpose. The other team that does this, in my opinion, might get some heat from this if anyone cares, are the Detroit Lions. They changed it. I wish that the white jerseys didn't say Detroit in huge block letters right there. I wish it was just a small little, like, Detroit. Whatever. Past that, though, the current uniforms are phenomenal. The Honolulu blue pops. The blue face mask is electric. They have an awesome alternate with the blackouts. It's the best blackout look in the league, in my opinion. I just think they're doing a good job with it. The blue helmet is very cool for the Lions in particular, and they really figured it out this season compared to the gray last season. And then when they wear their throwbacks, which is usually on Thanksgiving, I love it. No one's saying it's better than their current throwbacks, no one's saying it's better than their current uniforms, which I think is important for a throwback. If your throwbacks are better than the usuals, like the Dolphins, or the Steelers even, who just changed the font, I'm like, just bring those back. What are we doing here, people? I think that the Lions throwback, just the silver helmet, the plain blue jerseys with the silver numbers, no one's saying that's better. That's a great uniform set. So those 3, in my opinion, Jets, Bucs, Lions, there might be another one I'm missing. That's a nuclear uniform set. Let me know if there's another one that comes to mind for you that you think their current uniforms are the best they've been. They have at least one cool alternate, and then they have throwbacks that are interesting, meaningful to the fans, a cool look, but not better as full-time unis than their full-time unis. So that's all I have for the Uni Talk of the Week this week. I appreciate you listening. I don't know if anybody actually cares about the Uni Talk, but it's cool to me to be able to talk about it. And those Jets throwbacks on Monday, I absolutely loved them. All right, moving back into our favorite weekly segment of the show, bringing in by far, and he knows it too, my favorite weekly co-host that we've ever had on the show, Treads. Welcome back to the show, sir. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, as always.
Absolutely. And I'm thrilled to have you here, and I absolutely mean it this time. So, we had a recording issue that I had to fix. So, with that said, after week 6, I tasked you specifically to look and break down an entire division for me with your stances on how these teams' outlooks are for the rest of the season. That would be the NFC East. We both have the Cowboys as teams that we thought could win the Super Bowl. I had the Eagles making the playoffs. The Commanders are world beaters, and they're going to win 10 straight Super Bowls. And just kidding. That's the first real team they've played, and they looked fine, but they didn't win. And also, the New York Giants are in the division. Believe it or not, they are in the division. We are allowed to talk about them, though I don't know how much we'll be doing that. So give me your breakdown of the NFC East and your outlook for each of those teams for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Yeah, so like you said, the Giants, unfortunately for Giants fans, I'm kind of going to dismiss them. I think they're just about what most people thought kind of going into the season. The defense is really good. Like, normally if you hold the Bengals offense, to what they did the other night, like, you win most football games. But that offense is just kind of hard to watch. Obviously without Malik Neighbors, but
they win that game with Malik Neighbors.
So
just putting that out there.
Yeah,
they win that game.
Possibly so. They have pieces there to be excited about, so it's not like you have the worst outlook of any team in the league by any means. The defense is really solid, some core pieces there, but yeah, we're going to dismiss them. I think they'll probably dwell at the bottom of that division all season. Moving up, I guess, the Cowboys, who I was very vocal about being high on going into the season.
What's happening? What is going on?
I'm not full on hitting the panic button with them, but I'm pretty close. They're just so lethargic to watch on offense. It's hard. Like, man, that someone not named CeeDee Lamb has to eventually step up and be a playmaker there, and no one's doing it.
That said, CeeDee Lamb could also step up too if you wanted to. That would be cool.
Oh, absolutely.
That'd be cool too.
Absolutely. He's had a few games where
yes.
He's been a real presence. But I think if teams kind of focus on taking him out of it, there's no one else there that's stepping up, and it's just ugh. So it's hard to watch them. I hope they can figure something out there because they're more fun to watch, obviously, when they have, some offensive power. The defense has been worse, probably.
Yes.
In some of these games.
We were concerned after week 2. And
yeah.
I mean, not even just like hypothetically speaking, they've objectively been worse since then.
Yeah. The one silver lining for them, Micah Parsons will be coming back, probably next game. DeMarcus Lawrence still has probably a little bit of time, but he'll be coming back.
Yep.
And I think Deron Bland, who led the league in interceptions last season, I think might return in the next game as well. So they're getting reinforcements. That's enough to, make everyone else around you play a little better, and maybe that defense will see a significant uptick. But still, I don't feel great. If it wasn't for those returning pieces that are all very, very good players, I would be even more pessimistic about them. But yeah, it's not great. I don't feel great about them, but they're still 500, so maybe they'll be okay. Moving on now to the Eagles, I think they're fine. I'm not panicking on the Eagles at all, honestly. I think we haven't seen them be dominant outside of maybe the Saquon explosion game in week 1. Even that we kind of already discussed that they kind of looked a little off even in that game at times. But I think getting AJ Brown back this week was massive. I think he's their best player all around.
Yeah.
2 games this season, 11 catches, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's unreal. He's legitimately
he's their entire offense.
Saquon,
Hurts, Devontae, everything. He's their offense. Goddard. No, it's AJ Brown. He's their offense.
And I completely agree. I think as he's gets back fully healthy, that offense will keep getting better. I think we'll have more vintage Saquon games as well. He's been kind of quiet for a couple weeks.
Yep.
So I think that offense is going to be okay. They have the weapons to figure it out, and I'm confident they will. And the defense is fine. They're not the best in the league, but I don't think they're anywhere near the worst either. So I'm okay on the Eagles. I think they're going to be contending for that division title this season.
Have you seen their schedule for the rest of the season? Did you run into that at all looking at them?
I did. I wrote down that their next 3 were Giants, Bengals, Jags, which is a pretty winnable stretch.
2 on the road, 1 at home.
Bengals game. Yeah.
That's
you can't sleep on the Bengals walking in there because that offense is
but they'll probably be favored. If they're not, it's going to be like a 1.5, 2 point favorite for the Bengals, meaning
that feels like a game where Saquon could eat. But
I'm already having nightmares about it.
Yeah. But so that's a winnable stretch there. If you win all 3 of those, you're in a really pretty position. So I like the Eagles. I like where they're at. But that leads me to the Commanders at the top of this division. And I don't remember if I've said it on the show actually, or if it's just what I've talked with you off the show. I've been a little slower coming around to the Commanders than most people, I think. And that's nothing. I was big on Jaden Daniels even coming out of college. I think he's probably my favorite quarterback in the draft class as far as ready to play. I'm a big fan of him. I just thought there were too many holes there to where I was confident they were going to be this good this early. And I still think there's some question marks because, as you kind of mentioned, the teams they've beaten, we have the Giants, the Bengals, the Cardinals, and the Browns. There's nothing like super impressive.
Bad, terrible defense. Bad.
Right. Granted, they like completely destroyed the Cardinals. That game, they just trounced them.
But as we
The
talked,
Bengals game was a really fun shootout.
we thought the Cardinals would be fun this season. They have
I
yet
still
again
do.
decided
They
they're
have
not
fun
going to
games
show
in
up unless they're going to win.
Yeah.
If
have
they're not
fun
winning,
games
it's not
in
even
them,
close.
but yeah, agreed.
They have a one-score game all season. I don't think they do. And that feels abnormal for a team that does have 2 wins.
They came back and beat the. Well, I don't remember.
Oh, yes, yeah. The Bills was still
Was
6,
the-
and the Lions was 7.
Okay.
Okay. Doesn't
Okay.
feel like they have a one-score game.
They-
Yeah, the 49ers. Duh. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
So the Commanders, though, I don't like to hold a good record team. Their teams they played against them because they can't control who they're playing. But you look at But the thing with the Commanders, though, I'm not too scared of the upcoming schedule either. There's no stretch that terrifies me of their schedule.
Not one bit. That's why I'm like, I think they're winning the division. In all seriousness,
Right.
I really like. That's why.
And it was encouraging to see them play a competitive game against the Ravens. I do think they were. I don't think it was as close, even though as the score shows. I think it felt like they were constantly trying to catch up to the Ravens instead of like back and forth. So I do think the Ravens look like the better team in that game, pretty much all around. But still, for a team that really kind of had very low expectations from most people went through the season, you've got to be encouraged by what you've seen from the Commanders.
Absolutely.
And I kind of agree with what you said. They're a prime candidate. Like, I'd love to see them be active at the trade deadline and improve some.
Go get someone. Jonathan Allen, they just announced season-ending injury.
Yeah.
That's a crazy. He's not been super productive this season, but still, like,
yeah.
Dan Quinn already said we're replacing him with whatever via committee. I don't know. So it's not going to be fun. I'd love to see them go
quick on the Commanders. One last thing is, how much fun is it to see McLaurin finally have a quarterback get the ball? He's a guy that's so easy to root for. He just seems like such a good, down to earth kind of player, and he's just dealt with it for his whole career. So,
and I will tell you, like, I don't think you would know this yet, but I complain about Devontae Adams because he got what he signed up for with the Raiders, in my opinion. And to a degree, I think it's cool that he gets to pair up with Rodgers again. And by the time this comes out, you will have already heard this, but as of recording, you haven't heard me say this. I'm almost kind of salty he got his way. Because you wanted to go play for your favorite team. You wanted to go play with your college buddy who sucks. You wanted to go play for a dumpster fire organization. You wanted a bag. You got everything you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't going to get a Super Bowl on top of that. Nothing said that you were. Nothing about that said Super Bowl. Terry McLaurin has got nothing he's bargained for, which is, at the time of his deal, a very team-friendly deal. Now I feel like, well, the production's not been there. At the time, it was like, hey, he looks like a clear wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
He's getting paid, but not a bag.
Yeah.
He's played for 3 different teams on one organization. He's had multiple head coaches now. Team quarterbacks. How many words has he said about it?
That's what I'm saying. Nothing.
0.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's
Love it. For
easy
him.
to root for a guy like that. Yeah.
So, I'll point this out real quick, by the way. Underrated thing I've not heard a soul mention as of the time of recording. The Bears 4-2. I'm high on them. I think they make the playoffs. I still do. All 4 wins over teams that currently have 1 win each.
Yeah.
All 4 of them. The Titans, the Rams, the Panthers, and the Jags each have 1 win. Those are their only 4 wins. So, like, if you're going to knock the Commanders, which I feel like people are kind of teasing around doing, we're not talking about it as much this week, but it's kind of like, well, they lost the first game. Even I said it, the first real game they've played. Bears have done it too, and I feel like the world is on fire for them. So, let's keep that in mind. Anything else on the NFC East on your breakdown that you want to throw out there, or does that wrap it up?
I think that covers it.
All right, well, with that said, I'll be transparent. I have no issues being transparent here and saying there's so much to talk about. What's your dealer's choice? What would you like to talk about today? And you told me there's some teams that are 4-2 that are frauds. You didn't use that verbatim, but that's basically what you told me.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and talk to me about the Atlanta Falcons. Because I know you're going to talk about them. I know you're going to talk about them. You're going to bash my children. Talk about them and anybody else you have to say. But know that I will fight you over the Atlanta Falcons and their chances to be a top seed. Probably not the top seed, but a top seed in the NFC this year.
Okay, so I don't necessarily think I think there's 12 teams that have at least 4 wins. And I don't think any of them are full on frauds. I want to say that first. I think they're all good to great teams. There were 2 in mind when I recommended this segment. There were 2 teams in mind, and I'm gonna have to be honest with that. One of them I'm backtracking on a little bit. I don't love them, but I'm not willing to say they're not, and that is the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah,
I am not that high on them, but I was looking. I mean, they have now in the past 3 weeks beat their entire division. So I've got to give them a little slack.
That's right.
Kirk is finding a little bit of a groove, it seems like. Their running game's coming alive. I think, and as we've talked about before in this show, their schedule is really nice all the way through the end of the season. But man, I'm still not huge on them. They're watching them. The eye test with them is what gets me. They don't seem that great to me. And I'm afraid that they're going to have a really good record. They still could win the division. I'm still picking Tampa Bay. I think they probably will make the playoffs, but I'm afraid they're going to get trounced when they come up against a good team in the playoffs.
Here's what I'll say about the Falcons, and I'll let you get right back to it. Talk about eye test. You know who else doesn't pass the eye test right now? The Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying, like, the wins are what matters at this point. And I think we can both agree that if all goes well, they keep getting more comfortable. Their best football's ahead of them.
Yeah, no, it seems like they are getting better, and that's kind of why I'm backing off a little bit. It seems like getting better, and like I said, the past 3 games you beat your entire division. It would be unfair for me to go on here and say, you know, they're not legit.
Yeah.
So I think they are, and I think they will absolutely. I think they probably will get into playoffs, whether it's a wild card or not. I'm not sold that they're going to be legit contenders within the playoffs.
I think everything you're saying about the Falcons is completely fair, and I think a lot of people feel that way, and I think it's reasonable. We learned really after week 1 that if they were going to do anything, it would be growing pains, and I'm comfortable with what I've seen. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, just saying I'm comfortable with what I've seen. That said, there's got to be at least one other team that you're looking at, and you're like, people, you're 4-2, I'm not sold. Who would that be?
Right. So for me, that is the team that you actually just talked about a moment ago, the Chicago Bears.
Oh, great. I didn't know you were going to do this. I'm sorry.
So, and again, like I said with the Commanders, I really do try to refrain from being like, you've only beaten these teams. But it is true with them. It's worth acknowledging that the teams they've beaten have combined won 4 games this season. Now, in the Chicago Bears' favor, the last 2 of those, the Panthers and the Jags, they beat them to the degree that you want a good team to beat a bad team.
Yep.
I think that's worth pointing out.
Yep.
But with them, and I don't want to say that I'm down their frauds to the extent that I think they're a bad team or that you know, they don't have a positive direction. I think Caleb Williams is showing the signs that you want to see at this point in his rookie season of growth. I think their future is very, very bright there. They have a lot of good pieces. I'm just looking at this season, and even that Jags game, which they won handedly, the Jags receivers dropped 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
4. They're not going to get
in the end zone.
People aren't going to drop 4 touchdowns every week.
Drop. Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't a full 28-point swing because I think the Jags did score at least on one of those drives, but still.
Yeah.
But looking at what really has me worried is the Bears. The next 3 games they have the Commanders, the Cardinals, and the Patriots.
We're in the same boat. Take us home, buddy. Take us home.
Yeah. They should win 2 of those. They could win 3. They could beat the Commanders. I think we just talked about how the Commanders, we're not sure. They should be 7-2 or 6-3 in mid-November. They're going to be media darlings. People are going to be all over them. Then they play
what happens?
everyone in their division twice, the 49ers and the Seahawks, and that is terrifying.
Do you find 4 wins in that group? Probably not.
Is there a single divisional game that you feel confident they're going to win?
They'll split with the Vikings because I do think the Vikings are going to drop plenty down the stretch.
Vikings will drop a couple.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think they legitimately could steal a game from any of those, but man, that's terrifying to me. Those are tough games for a rookie quarterback down the stretch. And you won't convince me that the Lions and the Vikings are both not making the playoffs. I think they're the two teams to beat in the NFC. And the Packers, that offense is tremendous fun to watch right now. Like
I've already
Jordan
had
Love's
to backtrack.
coming.
I've already had to backtrack on him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just and not that the Bears aren't right there, just they feel when you look at that division, they feel like the team that's gonna stumble a little bit comparatively. Yeah. So I think even if we're in mid-November and they have one of the better records in the conference, I'm not going to be sold until we see how they compete in those divisional games.
Cannot agree with you more on that. And like I said, I see them making the playoffs. I was obviously a lot higher on them than I was on the Vikings going into the season. You ask me right now, no, I trust this Vikings defense. I think offensively they're probably equally as capable at worst, right? Assuming Caleb doesn't completely turn a corner this season, which he's begun to do. But a rookie corner versus even what Jaden Daniels has done so far is typically vastly different. And I don't see that happening. So that is a crazy stretch. It is going to happen one of these years where all four teams in a division will make the playoffs. It almost happened last year. If the Bengals would have beat the Chiefs with Jake Browning in Week 17, they make the playoffs. And all four AFC North teams would have made it. It will happen one of these years. Could it be this year with the NFC North?
It could be, but you're also going to have
Eagles,
convincing me that
Commanders or Cowboys. You're talking about
Atlanta
Falcons
Tampa,
or Bucks, whoever.
They would feel like, man, there's too many teams that feel like legitimate playoff teams. So I don't think all four of them make it, but it's the NFL and weird things happen. So
for sure. Wait, anything else from you, sir? Because a beautiful analysis, and I didn't mean to steal your thunder on the Bears, but obviously a great way to bring us home with that. Anything else from you this week, or does that kind of take care of business for you?
That takes care of it. So, thanks again for having me on, and I'm looking forward to being back again soon.
We appreciate it. We love having you on, and we will have you back on next week. Thanks as always, sir.
See ya.
All right, to wrap up the show, we're going to do something just a little different this week. Typically for the Thursday night games, they do the 3 keys to the Thursday night game. I've talked about how I've done a pretty good job of effectively picking things that will impact the game and have impacted the game. I've done a good job picking the winners for the Thursday night games and things like that. And we're going to clearly change it up this week. It's Broncos Saints. I will tell you right now, for Friday's episode, because of my schedule, I will not actually cover the results of this game unless something interesting happens and I have to emergency figure it out and post. I'm not planning to cover it, so my Friday episode will go up and it will be like I've not seen Thursday Night Football because of the timing of it all. So apologies, forgive me, but it's just the way I have to do it with my schedule. So with that said, I still will cover the game tonight as to what I have in mind for it, or today as to what I have in mind for it. But I'm not going to do 3 keys because I don't know what to expect from this game. I don't know if any of you listening are even going to watch this game, hardly. I'll watch it. It's going to be a slog. I overall think it's going to be a mess of a game. I anticipate low scoring, slog, unless Spencer Rattler figures it out against a very good Broncos defense. Listen, the Broncos are at least getting Mike McGlinchey back. That's someone that I know that they've missed. But they're without Pat Surtain, who remains in concussion protocol. And what I want to say with Pat Surtain, who I've not mentioned at all on the show, first of all, he's one of my favorite players in the league, in all seriousness. But he's a legitimate Defensive Player of the Year candidate at a position that never gets Defensive Player of the Year love. It's worth noting. Missing him severely lowers their chances of winning this game, in my opinion. But go to the other side of it. The Saints' injury report for this game is certifiably crazy. No Derek Carr, no Cesar Ruiz, no Chris Olave, no Taysom Hill, no Rashid Shaheed. He might be out for the season. And we'll know more than likely shortly after the time this airs on Thursday, because he's getting a surgery Thursday, that depending on what it reveals, we'll say, yeah, fully torn meniscus, full repair, he's out for the season, or minor repairs, or it looks enough for him to play, it looks good enough for him to play, whatever. He could be gone for the season too. Alvin Kamara is probably going to play Thursday night, but he was limited all week with a hand injury. God, what are we doing, Saints? And I get it, one of my good friends, the co-host of the Headaches Pod, the Herniator, always talks about the Dolphins injury report, and it is bad at times, and has been since the preseason. This is another terrible example here. What I will say going into this game is that it's a massively important game for both of them. Broncos are in a great spot right now at 500. You win this one, you have a mini bye, and then the Panthers next week. You could be looking at 5-3 very reasonably there. You're primed for an AFC wildcard spot at that point. You're probably in one already. I think they already were in one after week 5. I think after week 6, it might be like a million-way tie with 500 teams. I don't know. Go to the other side of it. A Saints loss, if the Broncos do win, puts them at 2-5 with 5 straight losses. And you're on the brink of collapse, which is exactly where I predicted that you would be at the end of the season, before the season started. And it probably puts Coach Dennis Allen squarely on the hot seat as the season moves on. They're in desperate need of a win here. It's been a while since they've won. It's been a month since they've won a football game, just about. That's not going to cut it. And this is a team that is in win now mode. Now, whether or not they should be, I don't know. I've said that they probably should just give it up, blow it up, move on. And I think this is the season that after it, they will do so. But they've got to win this one. And ultimately, both teams really need this one. A Broncos loss, 3-4, yes, many bye, but you're now fighting to get back to 500 next week. You're in the AFC West, so you're already not winning that division. You have to stay neck and neck with the other AFC wildcard teams. Saints lost, though, like I said, probably out of playoff contention. 2-5. Do we not think the Buccaneers win at least 10 games this season? 10-7 in the NFC South? Or the Falcons, right? Probably not going to be able to get it done. And the NFC South might have a wildcard team. They're not having 2. I'll tell you that confidently, okay? So, Broncos, Saints. I'm not massively looking forward to this game. But I'll watch it, because you know me. I'm going to watch it if there's football on. But it's massively important for both sides, regardless. Both teams really need the win. So I hope we get a good game out of it. But I'm not predicting that. My score prediction for this one is that the Broncos are going to win a low-scoring affair, 20-14. That's my guess. Could be dead wrong. Who's to say? I don't know what to expect for this one. Hopefully Spencer Rattler puts up like 40 points and shuts me up. But as I've said before, I think I'm going to continue fading the Saints down the stretch of this season. They're just not a team I believe in long term. I said that even after they were 2-0. So, wishing the best for both squads. I've got the Broncos winning this one. With that said, that wraps up this episode of The Alt. If you made it this far on the episode, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. I'll be back bright and early Friday morning, as long as I don't forget to schedule it on time, by the way. I went to go check on Wednesday's episode at like 10:30 in the morning. I was like, how's it doing? Got any comments I need to respond to? Whatever. 0 views. What? I didn't schedule it. I scheduled it for Thursday instead of Wednesday. So I've been bad about that at times, and it kind of messes things up in terms of getting into people's feeds. So it should be bright and early Friday morning when I'm back at it, but who's to say? That said, check and see if you're subscribed. That's really all I have for you in this one. Go watch Thursday Night Football. Force yourself to do it. Hold your eyes open. Hopefully it's a fun game. But I'll see you back here bright and early tomorrow.